Alright, so today we're going to do a review on the Sony HT-A7000 soundbar right here, and we just have the soundbar. We don't have the wireless subwoofer or wireless surround channels. We have just the soundbar, so this is going to be a review for just the soundbar. And we've had the soundbar right here for about the past 3 or 4 weeks, and it's been just awesome. We really like it, so I thought I'd do a little review on it. So without further ado, let's get started. So first things first, in terms of how well this thing is made, it is made really well, as you can see right here. We have a nice metal grille on the front, then we have some nice piano black on top, and just overall a very high quality product. It also weighs quite a bit as well, so it feels very high quality and very solid when you pick it up, and just overall extremely high quality speaker. And in terms of how many speakers we have in the soundbar, we have I think 11 total. So we have 2 on top right here on each side, so we have 1 there and 1 there, and then we have what they call a beam tweeter on each side of the soundbar right here that points off to the side. I'll talk about what those do in just a minute here, but these 2 speakers right here make up your left channel. Then we have a bass driver right here, your center tweeter, and then your bass driver right here, and then we have our right channel right there. And then we have the beam tweeter on this side as well. Now you're probably wondering, what do these speakers on top and what do these beam tweeters do right here? Well, what they do is they basically reflect sound off the walls and the ceiling. So the speakers on top, they point towards the ceiling, and when something plays out of them things, they bounce the sound off the ceiling and down towards your main listening position. So it gives you the sensation of having ceiling speakers. And then the beam tweeters work the same way. They point off towards the wall and they bounce sound off the wall and then bounce it towards your main listening position, giving you the sensation or the feeling of having side speakers when you really get on. Now I'll talk about how those actually work when you're watching a movie here in just a minute, but in general, how does the entire soundbar sound? Well, it sounds incredibly good. And honestly, you would expect it to for the price that they charge for this thing, but it truly does sound incredibly good. And the main thing that stood out to me was just how good the bass is on just the soundbar alone. Like I said before, I only have the soundbar, not the subwoofer that you can buy with it. But the bass on the soundbar alone is really good. And this thing right here gets down to right around 45 hertz is what I've got in my testing, which is really good for just the soundbar, you know what I'm saying? And while yes, having the subwoofer that goes with it would make the bass better, it would get lower and be a little bit more loud. And I would say in most cases you don't really need the subwoofer to go with this thing, but I mean, obviously in some cases like explosions in movies or just stuff like that, you know what I'm saying, having the subwoofer would be better. But this thing does great on its own in terms of bass performance, but also mids and highs are also very good on the speaker, or soundbar I should say, and just overall a excellent sounding speaker. Now in terms of how well the height channels work and those beam tweeters work, they work pretty well. Okay, so when you're watching a movie, it's not often at all where I'll actually feel like a sound is actually coming from, say, you know, this wall where you would have a side speaker, but it more or less expands the soundbar and makes it sound like, you know, the soundbar is bigger than it is. And the same thing goes for the height channels on top right there. And it didn't really make it sound like things were coming from the ceiling. It mainly just expanded the soundbar upwards, making it sound like sounds were going to come from, like, you know, the top of the TV or something like that. But it didn't really make it sound like something was coming from the ceiling, okay? So if you want surround sound and like actual side speakers, you're gonna have to actually get the, you know, side speakers. The virtual ones, they don't really make it sound like you have side speakers. They just expand the soundbar and make it sound like it's bigger than it is. Like when you're watching a movie, the soundtrack of the movie will a lot of times sound like it's coming from like over here and like over here, you know what I'm saying? While the talking is in the middle. And like a lot of times the height channels will make it sound like the sound is coming from the TV itself, you know what I'm saying, which is a really cool, honestly. Overall, the you know, the virtual height channels and virtual side channels don't make it sound like you have actual side channels and actual ceiling channels, but it more or less expands the soundbar and makes it sound like, you know, the soundbar is bigger than it is, which is honestly pretty darn cool. So yeah, overall, who is the soundbar for? Well, if you're just looking to get the soundbar, this is going to be perfect for someone that has, say, an apartment when you still want some really good sound, but you can't, you know, have a subwoofer going, you know, getting noise complaints and stuff like that. And if you have your own house and noise complaints ain't an issue for you, I would recommend getting the wireless subwoofer to go with this thing, because while yes, the bass in this thing is really impressive for just being the bar, I do miss having my own separate subwoofer for it too. But yeah, also if you're a big movie watcher, I would recommend getting the wireless surround sound channels just because surround sound is really cool. So yeah, I would recommend those as well. But like I said before, if you're in an apartment or something like that, this thing is going to be absolutely perfect for you if you want some really good sound, but also don't want to worry about noise complaints by having the subwoofer, you know what I'm saying? And yeah, overall this soundbar sounds incredible. It looks great. It's made super well, and just overall a very high quality soundbar. And yeah, I would highly recommend it, and I appreciate you watching this video, and take it easy.